After a population explosion this spring, the time has come to reduce our chicken numbers on the farm. This week, we take you through the process of turning our birds into food, with a special emphasis on using the whole bird and not letting anything go to waste, in line with our free-range philosophy. If you'd like to learn a little more, or get some new ideas about how to make the most of your chickens at the end of their lives, then this episode is for you.
This is the chook coop, and all the chickens are out and about free ranging. They will be coming home pretty soon. The sun's about to go down. It is in a bit of a state. We probably have too many chickens at the moment. In fact, we definitely have too many chickens at the moment. We started spring with 10 birds. We had a rooster and 9 hens, and now we have roughly 30 birds. We've had 3 rounds of chicks. We've also had a friend's birds that they didn't want any more given to us that we went and picked up. So this evening we're going to be taking away all our roosters and our hens that are coming into retirement age. Some of them are actually molting and they've been through a couple of molts already. They're about 2 years old. We could hold on to them for many more years, but they've had babies and these young hens are coming through and they will be laying a lot more eggs. There's one grey hen and she's raising 4 little chicks at the moment, and I know which one she is. She's got a distinctive black spot on her tail feathers, so we'll be leaving her behind. But the other older grey hens, they've had their chance. They didn't do well being mums. They didn't do well sitting on eggs, so we're going to take them this evening as well. We have processed a grey hen for meat before, and we were so impressed with the flavour and the fat quantity. They were a lot nicer actually than, well, not a lot, but they were nicer than, more flavour for us than the Ross birds that we raised last year. So last year we raised 50 birds, 40 made it to our freezer. So we put 40 birds in our freezer roughly this time last year, and we've only got 2 of those birds left sitting in our freezer. So it is time to reduce the load in here. It's actually a little bit unhygienic. The manure load's really high. We've had to clean out the coop every couple of weeks. Hay is limited at the moment. It costs us money to buy sawdust to keep top dressing in there. So by reducing the number of chickens in here, hopefully we'll be reducing that manure load. So we'll be keeping the younger grey hens. You can see one here, and taking away the older grey hens and taking away the roosters. We tend to take away our birds at night. These Australorps are very calm, so if we come in here at 8 or 9 at night, they're quite dopey and sleepy, and it's really easy to just grab the ones that we want with a head torch, put them into a dog cage or a box lined with a lot of straw, because they do tend to poop a lot at night, and then we're ready to process them first thing in the morning. We haven't processed them yet because we were waiting for our roosters to get a good size, but we were also waiting for the cooler weather, and it's finally come. So the flies are gone, the weather's cooler, so we're ready to process these birds. I think we'll be doing about 10 or 11 tomorrow morning. We just went and picked up a plucker from our friend, so we're not going to have to worry about plucking them, which just takes a whole lot of time out of the equation, but you've seen us plucking birds before.
There's a bit of weight worth of roosters in here.
Yeah.
I've had this full of piglets, you know.
Ooh. How many?
Oh, maybe 6.
Oh.
It was heavy.
Yeah. So we were able to easily capture all these birds. Thank you for being great chickens, guys. And
Just too bad you roosters.
sorry, your roosters.
This thing's really proven its worth. Our neighbour Don gave us the copper insert out of an old laundry boiler, and it just fits perfectly in a 44. So we've cooked potatoes for pigs, boiled water for skinning little pigs, and now it's prepping up our chickens. So we're putting them in a bath, 65 degrees C. A little bit of detergent in there, and what that does is helps it get right to the base of the feathers, the hot water. And then we can throw them in a plucker that our friend Jeff very kindly lent to us. Does the skin of the feet come off? That is a ready chicken. Got this crab scoop. It's pretty good. All right, it's gonna get loud.
If you don't have access to a plucker machine, then you soak the birds the same way and then remove the feathers by hand, which will take roughly 5 minutes for each bird.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable machine.
All right, first rooster. Pull the trachea out. And try and loosen up. I don't know, you're supposed to be able to get your hand in here and loosen up the guts, and if you can, pull out the crop. But I'm finding that quite hard. Oh, this one's crop was empty. That's cool. That's a bonus.
Even though we processed and eviscerated 40 chickens a year ago on the homestead, I'd almost completely forgotten how to do it again, as we hadn't had any practice in between. After removing the crop from the neck, I made an incision around the cloaca and cut a hole above it into the gut cavity. I then located the gizzard with my hands and gently pulled on it to remove the guts.
Thank you, Don.
Putting a little bit of detergent in the water really makes a difference, eh?
Is it?
It really wets them all the way down to the base.
So if you're curious, that's what the inside of a chicken plucker looks like. All those little fingers nick off the feathers. And the pressure helps get them off too. And then the feathers come out a little chute. Apparently feathers are good food. Troy processed and cleaned the muscular gizzards, which is basically the stomach of the chicken. The gizzard is aided by sandy particles which the chicken ingests throughout its life to help grind down the food. We remove the thigh and the drumstick from the carcass to make skin on Maryland portions or leg quarter portions. These are probably our most favourite part of the chicken.
We've got about 8 frames and all the heads and all the feet in here. The heads and the feet are supposed to put a lot of gelatin and give the stock a lot of body, and the frames will be giving the flavour to the stock. So we're just going to let it simmer for a bit, and then I am going to put the lid on it and we'll pressure cook it as well. That'll just reduce the amount of time we have to have this on the stove. Another thing is we did remove some of the breast meat off the frames, but some of it we've left on the rooster frames because that is where a lot of the flavour is. So not only the frames in the necks, but also the breast meat that's on some of these frames will give the stock that really nice chickeny flavour.
Whilst the stock was coming up to a simmer, I vacuum sealed our chicken quarters and wings for the freezer and prepared all our offal for cooking. As well as our roosters, we processed 3 ISA brown hens.
So these are the eggs. So one of those ISA browns was still laying, but the others weren't. So we did pretty good, just choosing the hens that were done with laying for the time being. We'll use these yolks in the pate I'm going to make. So it was quite hard to eviscerate the chickens and not break up the liver. I haven't quite mastered that skill yet. But with pate, it doesn't really matter if the liver got a bit crushed. We're not eating these whole. Some of the laying hens had really fatty liver. Look at that. Such a big plump fat liver.
These gizzards were cut into chunks and put into the pressure cooker, which I filled with salted water. The yellow fat around the organ meat was rendered to make schmaltz. So I've just pulled the soup stock off the hob. It's just depressurising, and then we're going to can that up. But in the meantime, we're going to make some early dinner. I've pressure cooked these gizzards and now they're nice and soft. In the past, we have tried to cook them without pre-boiling them or pressure cooking them, and they're really tough. But now they seem soft enough to eat. So we're going to fry them up with some flavours, some really simple flavours actually. Onion, garlic, and I'm going to add some pork dripping, and we've got some hearts as well. So I'm going to fry all these up and have it on top of a bed of polenta. I'm going to use the schmaltz as our fat to cook in. So this was what we rendered out. I left it a little long and it went a bit brown, but it doesn't smell too bad. It smells a bit like roast chicken, so that's good. Okay, the gizzards are starting to fry up. We've got milk on for polenta. Alright, yeah, add onions. We're going to add our hearts to the gizzards as well. They don't need as long in the pan, and they don't need that pre-boiling like the gizzards do, because the gizzards are a really tough muscle in the chicken. Alright, time to add some garlic. I've got these like when we made a roast pork. No, I can't. I think it was a spit. We had a heap of dripping, so I've got these. They're really handy. I can just tuck them in out of the freezer. And I've got like a real stock cube. So just got to get this polenta going. Maybe that much. I just eyeball polenta. I think there's about a litre of milk in here, and I think I just put about 1/4 of a cup of polenta in to see how that goes. The milk is simmering now. Oh, I can't help myself. Let's try a bit more. Wow, they're really nice. Just put a nice chunk of butter in there. You've got to have butter in your polenta. I can't stop eating the polenta, it's so delicious. What do you think of the gizzards, Dad?
Hang on. Let me just... They're not tough.
Because I pressure cooked them first.
They're delicious. Is that fresh rosemary in there?
Sage.
Is it thyme?
It's sage.
Sage. It's delicious. There's no rocks in there?
No, you clean them well.
Our broth was on last night. We had it at pressure for roughly 2 hours, and then I just left it overnight. It would have kept to lose pressure, but it would have kept cooking over that period of time. It's actually still warm now, and it's nearly midday. So yeah, it's had a long time on low heat and a couple of hours in very, very high heat. I actually had some of the meat this morning for breakfast with avocado. It was delicious. So I will be pulling the meat off the bones, particularly the breast meat and some of the other meat, and we'll be using that for dinner tonight, and then we'll also be freezing a lot of that meat up, and it's just easy to grab and go and make a quick stew, soup or pie filling with it. So yeah, I'm going to pull the meat off the bones now, and then I'll be washing this pot up and getting ready. We'll be reheating the stock and canning that up into mason jars, ready to go on the shelf. So we don't have much freezer space. We are trying to keep our freezers as empty as possible because we're going to be culling most of our pigs this winter. That's why we ended up breaking down these roosters into Marylands and wings and then making broth with the frames. Yeah, this way we can, they don't take up so much space as putting in whole birds in the freezer. The stock is beautiful. We've got a really thick layer of yellow fat, chicken fat. So I might actually try and ladle that off first before I remove the meat in the bowl here. I've found that it's better to get as much of the fat off as possible if you're pressure canning stock, because the fat can go a little bit rancid and give your stock a bit of a flavour. The stock itself is totally fine, but the fat can taint it a little bit, especially if you're keeping on the shelf for a year or so. So our pork broth that we made last year, it tastes great, but the fat that sits on top of it has a little bit of a rancid flavour. Wow, so yeah, you can see there's quite a bit of fat in here, and then I did end up scooping a little bit of broth in there. I think this is the bird that I had some meat off this morning for breakfast. So you can see that, whoops, this is the breast meat. A little dry, but these top bits aren't quite as dry. And they were also like sitting in that fat, so they kind of confit a bit, which is quite nice. All right, so I'm gonna strain the rest of the broth. I've pulled off like a lot of the breast meat. I think most of the breast meat. Got a whole pile of pet food, dark meat here and skin, and then the bones here for the pigs. I'm gonna pour the rest of this off. I put a muslin lined colander there, so hopefully we'll just get the clear broth. We won't get any like scummy bits or any bits of bone or meat in the broth itself. And then that will be ready for heating up to be canned. So I don't know if we can do this all in one load. We might have to do it in two. We'll just see. Oh, slippery fat. Maybe I'll stop there. It would be really sad if it overflows. Oh no, we're okay. Just lift it up like that, and we're half full. Actually, I can probably scoop some more fat that's just sitting on top now. Try not to get any of the meat in it though. There we go. Really happy with how that turned out. The broth looks nice and yellow. We've got 10 litres. I'll just show you what this muslin cloth looks like. You can see it's picked up all the blood and scum, so that hasn't gone into the broth that we're going to can. So I kept this out. We were going to cook it, but we've got too much other food going on at the moment. This chicken is going to go into the freezer for another time, but I just wanted to show you how beautiful these Australorp laying hens are. This is a 2-year-old hen, and it's a really great size. Not heaps of breast meat, but a really good thigh and good wings, and so much beautiful yellow fat and lots of meat on the underside. So this will be a beautiful bird. We'll end up putting it in the slow cooker, I suspect, because if we put it straight in a hot oven and roast it, it'll be very, very tough because it's a working bird. Lots of muscle in there, and slow cooking, low and slow is the way with pasture-raised animals. So this is going to go into the freezer for another day. But yeah, just wanted to show you all that beautiful yellow fat that we got off this bird, and it really does look like a meat bird. A lot of laying hens, they look quite scrawny once you've taken all the feathers off, but this has got quite a bit of meat on it. So a really great dual purpose breed if you're thinking about chickens for your homestead. That's the Australorp, in case you didn't catch it.
Next, it was time to preserve our boiled breast meat that I packed into vacuum sealed bags for the freezer.
I was going to make a pate with our chicken livers, kidneys, and those egg yolks that were in one of the Isa Browns. But I've decided I'm going to use the leftover shredded meat that I haven't vac sealed, the darker meat and the skin and some of the nicer fatty bits. I'm going to use that shredded meat and the liver to make chicken and offal pie. We've got a little bit of cream there that I can skim off the top of a bottle of milk from our Jersey cow. We've got some delicious stock that we can use to make the gravy. I will be putting some truffle in there because I have some truffle butter in the freezer. So we'll use that up and use some of the mushrooms we foraged last year. So I'm using frozen pastry. I don't have time to make pastry, and we had this in the freezer, which is really great. This is an all butter one, so it's just got butter, salt and flour in it. So I don't mind this frozen one. A lot of the other ones have weird things in them, which I'm not a fan of. This one's a little bit more expensive, but it's real.
Whilst I lined the pie tin with pastry, I also had finely diced onions sweating in my enamel pot that I cooked in the chicken fat that we strained off the bone broth earlier.
So I'm putting a potato in as well. I decided that this will help thicken up the sauce. I am going to put flour in as well. So I'll just put the potato in now. I've got some flour to put in to make a roux.
To the roux mixture, I added 7 or 8 ladles of our chicken bone broth. I also skimmed the cream off one of our bottles of raw Jersey cow milk.
It's a bit of a wicked and evil thing to do, but we need it for the cream for our pie. There we go. Here's our foraged mushrooms. I'm just going to break them up. I could have cut them, but...
Then I added our boiled chicken meat from broth making.
Add our chicken bits. There's also stock in here, so that'll help. This is pretty much thickened up how I want. Whoa, there's going to be lots of peas in there. Now I'll put all of the liver in. Look at all this liver. Well, there's going to be big chunks in there. I turn the heat off. All right, mix that all in. Here's my pie. I better put the egg yolks in now. Oh, this should make it super rich. So just saw me adding the egg yolks then. I'm just stirring them through. So the liver hasn't fully cooked yet, but I want it to cook in the pie. And there's big chunks of it too. I can see the truffle in there. It's going to be really delicious. Oh, look at that. It fits. I was worried we wouldn't have enough, but we do.
I brush the top of the pie with a milk and egg yolk wash, and then put it in a 200 degrees centigrade oven for 45 minutes until the top of the pie was golden brown.
Look at that. Yum. Dinner is served.
Did you put truffle in there?
Yeah.
Oh.
You can taste the truffle. Oh, that's great.
It's not strong.
No, it's truffle
Just-
butter.
I can smell it more than I can taste it, which
Yeah.
is truffle, I guess.
Real truffle.
Pretty good byproduct. Put the camera down, come mate.
I'm just going to put the broth, the remaining broth in these wet jars, and then we'll put the lid on and we'll pressure cook everything, and that is me done for chickening for now. To prepare these, I've just been putting a little bit of vinegar around the rim, just in case there's any fat or liquid on there. We don't want it to affect the seal. And I'm using these smaller ones because these are the only ones that are going to fit on top of the mason jars in the pressure canner. I didn't want to have to do 2 lots of pressure canning. I just wanted to do one. It's getting late. Ow, ow, ow. Should be using my clips, but anyway, we're in a rush. Bring that up. I think that's even, yeah. If you can raise both the things, that's always a good sign. Raise both the screws. So I'm just putting them up now and just doing a few twists. 2 or 3 twists. Oh, okay. And now we'll start to tighten them, alternating sides. Okay.
I always lift the lid off the pressure canner away from me, and very slowly, just in case the change in air temperature causes a seal to fail. This actually happened to me the first time I canned bone broth, and I won't forget it.
So I put away all that beautiful stock on the shelf, but I just wanted to share with you how lovely it is and how much gelatin there is in it. This was what was left over. I'm actually having some for dinner tonight, just plain old chicken broth for dinner because it's so tasty. But look at that. That's from the heads and the feet. But the flavour, oh my gosh, there's so much flavour in it. It's just chicken, pure chicken flavour, and it's beautiful. It's our best yet. That's what Troy said, our best yet. He poached his eggs in it this morning. So very exciting to have that on the shelf, and a great way to make use of our excess roosters and our old laying hens.
Thanks everyone for joining us. I hope you learnt a little bit more about how to make the most out of your chickens. They're such a fun animal to have around your backyard and in your homestead, and they give us delicious eggs. But it's really nice to honour their life at the end as well and make the most of all the bird. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, it really helps us out, and if you haven't already, subscribing to our channel supports us too. Thanks again and see you next time.